Penguin Wizard. No!
You're good.
Is that the first whip on camera?
Hey everyone, this is Kerb and I bring you another standard match. So today, of course, we are going to be continuing on with Blag Week. Of course, we do have former Draguiled enthusiast Darren over here going to be piloting his Blag'n'demire list. And on the right, we do actually have Orion, my deck tester, going to be trying out some more Wilista. But for whatever reason, this deck absolutely does not like Orion at all. So we'll go ahead and see how bad it can get. As we call it, Yuika swinging in. It's going to be swinging at the Vanguard, going for a OT to pass there. We do hit the heal trigger there, so of course that's still not going to be enough to go in. Going to be discarding this card to ride into that grade 2 using grade 1 skill, checking the top 3 cards of the deck, putting 2 cards in there, including that copy of the Crimson Expeller, which, you know, might come in handy later. But we'll go ahead and continue and see what we're going to do next. Going to be calling out a copy of Ford here. Going to be just soul charging and getting an extra 5k there. Looks like we're thinking on whether we want to call something. We're going to opt to not. Going to be calling a second Ford here, soul charging a critical trigger there. Then we are going to actually opt to use the skill this time to counter +1, calling out the grade 1 from the ride line. Pretty much just create that 23k column, which is going to be a very nice magic number. Swinging in at the Vanguard, can be blocked by that 15k shield. Swinging in this 15, kind of difficult to guard, but we're going to put another heal trigger there to guard it, and then just take this last swing, which is going to be a 23, which, you know, is going to call for a 20k guard. So definitely it is the attack that you want to be taking. Discarding of Alderbrosh here, soul blasting out the what's it called, the grade 1 Wilista, and then of course activating the grade 1 skill. Maybe a little bit incorrect sequence of events. Normally I think you should always just search first, because you don't want to risk drawing into too many Crossing Luminaries. I mean, it's always nice to have 2, but you know, most of the time you want to deck them before you do actually, you know, draw those cards. Putting a copy of the Ophelia into the deck to search out that copy of the Crossing Luminaries. Play is going to be giving us that 15k Vanguard, drawing 2 cards, and depending on what we have left in hand, we do have the option to, you know, do a lot of aggro rush. Like if we manage to have any Ramonas, those can be 20k beaters. We can, you know, take a sizable chunk out of the opponent's hand, or, you know, just deal damage. Playing that Crossing Luminary is going to be drawing the 2 cards with the skill of that grade 2 Wilista. So let's go ahead and moving the Yuika back. Hopefully we're going to be calling something pretty impactful in front of it. And looks like we are. It's going to be that Ramona there. So we got a 28k column there, since we did play the 2 gems this turn. Swinging for a 15. Going to be very difficult to guard here. You would have to commit like 20k. It looks like we're going to be taking a bit of a risk, guarding for double intercept for a 1 to pass. And unfortunately for Ryan, that is not going to be happening as we swing in for the 28. Going to be using Yuika to bounce the Ramona back to hand. Honestly, probably not overly necessary. Like, if you lose a Ramona, it's kind of whatever. But if you don't, or if you do, whatever. You have an attack for next turn. Running into the grade 3 Blag. We are going to get a total whiff there. Checking the top 3, going to be 3 trigger units. That means we get nothing into the soul. And I believe it also does mean that you don't actually get a draw off of that skill. Of course, I wouldn't know entirely, because, you know, I've never read the Blag'n'demire cards. So how could I possibly know whether you whiff on the draw? But as always, it looks like I'm correct. We are going to be, looks like we did actually heal out that other damage. And using the Zamug here, counterblasting 1, putting, I think that's just 1 card from the top 30 cards of the deck into the soul. We still do have Zamug kind of just being a little bit of threatening regard, but I think we might be at 0 energy here. Yeah, we went first and we used double discards on these last couple turns, so we don't actually have any energy to use with that Zamug. Going to be pushing up that grade 1, calling behind double Butchers, as well as a Alchemist behind the Vanguard. You know exactly where he wants to be. Swinging this first column, only a 16. Going to be using the Butcher skill to put that Colossus that we discarded during the first turn into the soul. Doing the same thing once again, guarding both these attacks with 15k guards each. Now that I'm just looking at it, that's 3 heals out from Wilista, isn't it? as we are once again going to be binding a Yumiko. Wow, 2 Blag'n'demire videos in a row where Yumiko gets bound. That's kind of crazy. Swinging here, we do kind of whiff on that critical trigger there. We were only, of course, able to give all the effects. We weren't able to restand because we only had that 1 CB that we committed to the Zamug there. So, you know, kind of going to be wasting a little bit of trigger power there. But it's not going to make a huge difference. Discarding another Valderosh to ride into the grade 3 Wilista, putting the Valderosh back to the bottom of the deck in order to draw yet another card is going to be pretty good here. Depending on whether we have the Crossing Luminaries, we might have to use the Wilista skill here in order to, you know, grab it back. But it's looking, let's see, are we going to do it? And yes, looks like we are going to be discarding the set order in order to add back that Crossing Luminaries from the drop zone. Looks like we managed to get one in there earlier, and we do actually have still the Crossing Luminaries in the Soul to Soul Blast out and call from the top couple cards of the deck. That's going to make things, hopefully we can call a little bit of Elvira's here. We did get the set order setter, and looks like we're going to be going for a friend chat, double checking that hand, and then double checking that top 5. Man, this reminds me of the times when Tim used to play, and we used to do our indecisive counters. Leave a comment if you guys remember those days. Those were the days. Looks like we checked hand. Gonna check the top 5 again. Are we going to check hand again before we commit to that friend chat? Oh, we're putting back the grade 2. Maybe we don't even want that. Oh, it looks like we're actually going to be committing it once again. Ooh, checking the hand yet again. Ooh, what's it going to be? Checking top 5 yet again? Man, I can't believe we let Orion become the new age Tim. How did this happen? Maybe it's just, this is what Wilista does to people. Oh my gosh, you're checking the hand again. Gotta check top 5 again. What are we gonna commit to? Is it gonna be the friend chat? Yes, it is gonna be the friend chat. I'm so glad we checked our hand and our top 5 and took back all of our choices and took back the friend chat, only to commit to, you know, exactly what we were doing anyway. That is a certified Tim moment if I've ever seen it. Anyways, gonna be using, of course, the skill of that, I already forgot her name. Her name's like Alina or something, to search out the set order. We did discard the other copy, so it is a little unfortunate we're only gonna have access to 1 this game. But of course, looks like we are playing the Crossing Luminaries just to draw 1 card. Unfortunately, we didn't get any Elvirs, like we don't have any in hand. But we do technically have a decently powerful swings here. Let's go be calling out Ophelia with that 15k booster. Is going to be making a nice 28k column even on that first swing. The franchise there, of course, is pretty good, but at the same time, we don't really have anything that we really want to bounce back. Like, if we didn't lose out on the second set order, then maybe it would have been a good decision to, you know, bounce back that grade 2, and then we could have used it once again to set up the second one. But we do actually have to commit something here to the back row if we want to restand that Ophelia there. At the same time, you know, that friend Chet, not really looking that powerful. I mean, it's just a 15k attack. Maybe we can even use it to take on a Zambu or something, but looks like we're committing that Ramona. Unfortunately, not as a booster, but just as kind of just a put back target, as you're going to be giving the extra 5k to that grade 2, swinging in for 28. Going to be a pretty good number. Going to be taking the damage there, hitting to a heal trigger, which is pretty unfortunate. That means that the friend Chet is no longer be able to hit, but of course all of our other attacks still are hitting. We've got this 33k Wilista there. Going to be hit with a perfect guard, that Elementaria, as we're going to do performing our drive checks, nothing, and a heal trigger. So that heal trigger is actually going to be going off. We can give it the extra power of the friend chat, so now she is once again able to hit the Vanguard. And then of course counter blasting, putting that Ramona back to the bottom of the deck, and then shuffling is going to restand that Ophelia with an extra 50k power, meaning that we've got another 28k swing at the Vanguard. So that one at least is going to be calling for a 10k shield. This other friend chat not really going to be doing a whole lot, you know, 25. I think you might as well just commit it to swinging at the Zamug, just because, you know, Blag'n'dimere's biggest weakness really is, you know, retiring those rear guards, because they don't really have a very good way of getting them back. They just have to draw into a second copy, or, you know, soul charge a copy and, you know, call it out with that exact order that we just saw go into the damage zone. Swinging the 28 at the Vanguard, it's going to be connecting, pushing Blag to 3, and then bouncing back the Ophelia so it doesn't get bound off Blag'n'demire skill. And then, of course, we are going to be doing exactly what I said, just swing the Frenchette in at that Zamoog. But looks like we did actually have another copy in our hand. Going to be committing a Counterblast to it as well, putting just one card into the Soul Beam, that of course that Ford, keeping the Persona Ride, and I believe it was like a critical trigger in the deck. Okay, so looks like here we'll be drawing a card from... Does Zamoog draw you a card? I don't remember. I don't care. I don't know. Gonna be overcalling that Servant Phallicate or Phallicate or whatever, how the fuck you call it, over that grade 1, because obviously it is kind of just useless, and you do want to, you know, push as much power as you can. We don't actually have Persona right here, I believe, so attacks aren't going to be hitting the strongest, but we still do have access to Divine Skill. Unfortunately, you know, Wilista is at 2 right now, so your chances of actually killing with the Divine Skill do rely on you getting, like, double critical here. So it's probably not the best use of your Divine Skill on this turn. We're using a combination of the Butcher and the Servant to put a total of 2 cards from the drop zone back into the Soul as we're swinging the Vanguard here, binding those 4 cards, just choosing 4 random cards pretty much, binding the whole rest of the board. That Frenchette is going bye-bye, as well as that grade 2. Gonna be counterblasting for the Alchemist to restand the Servant with another 15k power now, since we do have a total of, I believe, 10 now, giving us that extra 25k to the Vanguard, making this a very big Vanguard swing. But without the Divine Skill, it isn't really that threatening. It is still just 1 damage no matter how big it gets. Flipping over front trigger there is a little bit more concerning because, you know, these are still pretty big swings. The Servant Phallicate with an extra 10k from the trigger, as well as, you know, the extra 15k from the Alchemist, is reaching all the way up to 45, making this a very strong swing. And without a defensive there on that last damage, things are going to get pretty dicey to guard here. You're going to need like 35k shield or PG, but looks like we're just going to be opting to take it. Definitely, I think the correct play. That attack was just way too big. Swinging with the Zamoog is just going to be 28, thanks to the defensive trigger that we did manage to get there. Just going to be easy 15k guard there just to block it. Definitely very good, but unfortunately you are at 4, which is never where you want to be when you're going up against Blag'n'demire, because next turn if they hit you with that Divine Skill, you are kind of just dead to rights. Unfortunately, it looks like Wilista whiffing on that Persona Ride, going to be Soul Blasting out that Crossing Illumination, checking the top 5. I guess we'll have to see if we get another indecisive count here, but it looks like we are thinking real hard about that top 5. Must be a pretty good one. Oh, looks like we're going to be checking the hands. We haven't actually committed to anything. Gotta recheck the top 5 once again. What are we gonna call? Are we gonna make our decision, or do we want to check our hand again? Should we check the hand again? Ooh, looks like we're hunting a Valderosh here, which isn't gonna be anything, so it's kind of just a Philia fodder right now. Ooh, checking the hand once again, and checking top 5. Gotta recheck that top 5. Think about what we actually do want to call the second target. Check the hand once again. Oh, checking the drop zone. That's a new one. We haven't seen that before. Are we gonna check the damage zone? Almost. Just check top 5 again. What's gonna be our second call target? There must be a lot of good ones there if we're thinking that much. Oh, and we're gonna call 1. Calling 1 from the top 5. That is deeply unfortunate. Calling an Elevira here is at least a little bit better, because now you can draw more than 1 card off of playing that, you know, Crossing Illumirates. So, unfortunately, you kind of have 1 turn left here as the Wilista player, and, you know, this turn is going to have to count, as we do call some pretty good attackers here, in all honesty. We've got that Ophelia there, and the Ramona, with the Elevira behind it. We've got 2 28k swings here. Would have been a lot nicer if we could have been able to Persona Ride, because, you know, that would have been 5 attacks, and those attacks would have been absolutely massive. But unfortunately, we don't have, you know, the best things in play. Swinging the Ophelia, using the set order there to give that Valderosh Bruise, so we can actually get up to 43, but a PG is just going to be coming down to block that attack. Finally seeing the Persona Ride. Going to be bot decking that Valderosh. Checking the top card of the deck. Not sure why that was. Just, I guess, to see if we would have hit a trigger or something. As we just reset the, what's her name, Ophelia. I've been saying it all this time. Why am I still forgetting it? And now we've got 2 28k columns. So those are, of course, going to be calling for 20k guards. But unfortunately, without any triggers off of that drive check, these aren't really going to be enough to actually close out the game. So definitely there's an argument to just like take out rears here. Like you can definitely attack that Volcate. Looks like that is actually what we're going to be doing. And deciding to guard it for 30, then committing another attack to it, committing another 20k shield. So you kind of just got 40k shield on your opponent without even attacking their Vanguard. But you know, things are looking very, very dire here. Looks like I don't think we have Persona Ride here. Looks like we are just whiffing on Persona Ride there. Calling the third Zamoog. Are we going to use its skill? Looks like the answer there is no, as we are going to be using the Servant Validate as well as the Butcher in order to put back that Zamoog, as well as another grade 1, making a 28k column there. Gonna be guarding with that trigger, plus the Energy Cycler, which is feeling pretty nice. Drawing into that perfect guard, looks like, as we swing with the Blag'n'demire, binding the 4. And honestly, this is a pretty good time to proc that Divine skill, as we do have to bind 2. With this being the 3rd turn of Blag, we've got 4, 8, what comes after 8? 12 and 14 for every 2. That's 7. That's plus another 35k in addition to just like base 28. So once again, this is just PG numbers or bust. But looks like we were going to guard with OT there, but we're not proccing Divine skill, which I think maybe we should have, just because, you know, it is just a kill turn. If your opponent has it, then there you live. If they don't, you know, they're still in like... if they don't have the OT, you know, it's just dead. We might have just shotgunned that OT there, and that might have forced us to, you know, make the decision for us where, okay, we're not actually going to proc Divine skill. We are going to be using the Zamoog here. I believe we did have to add power to the Zamoog, and then, of course, you know, add critical somewhere else, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to use that skill. But anyways, this is still going to be a 2 damage swing, so this is swinging for lethal. You do have to block this, of course. So, going to be guarding that with the OT. So, guarding with that OT kind of just does give, you know, full reign to Blag'n'demire, where they're just going to go, okay, time to Divine skill next turn. You have no way of realistically stopping this, especially since Blag has already swung 3 times, so by the time it swings to the 4th, that attack is going to be absolutely massive. You're getting way more than just an OT in order to block that. Finally, Persona Riding with the Wilista there. We still blasting out the Crossing Illumerays. Checking top 5 once again. So, I believe, did we check our hand once? I don't know, I wasn't looking. Calling a Valderosh here, as well as a second copy of Persona Ride, I guess. Oh, nope, we're going to take it back. What are we actually going to be calling? Looks like we're calling a PG. I guess we just want to try and close things out. I mean, you do kind of have to. Honestly, if you're Wilista in this situation, this is your final turn. Like, you don't have a game plan after this. You're running low on resources. You're at 4. Your massive hand that you normally have is already starting to take a very, very big beating over these last couple turns. Blag still hasn't used its Divine skill, so if you draw into any PGs, they're absolutely worthless. Gonna be playing that Crossing Illumerays there, so that is going to give us access to 5 attacks here. We do have the CV to commit to it, of course, now that we can actually Soul Blast a grade 3. The biggest problem here is we do need to commit a whole column here, and looks like we're going to be calling the grade 2 and the Ophelia. So with only 1 set order, only one of these things can boost, so that Valderosh is probably just going to be sitting there, giving the extra 5k to that Ophelia, probably swinging in, and I think that's a little bit of a misplay. I don't think you're going to be able to boost with that Valderosh, because you only have 1 set order, as far as I can tell. Anyways, swinging this 28 in at the Vanguard, of course, using the Crossing Illumerays skill to restand the Ophelia, boosting with the PG there, and then going to be activating Ophelia right now, but, you know, it doesn't actually resolve right now. It's going to resolve at the end of the battle. We did see Blag take those first 2 swings. I didn't notice if we got a defensive. I don't think we did. So putting that PG back, both of these Ophelias are actually going to be getting 15, because regardless of whether or not you restand it with that skill, it is always going to be getting that extra 15k power, which is why Ophelia was such a powerhouse during late games, during set 10 meta, where she was just instantly always a 28k attacker, even if you couldn't, you know, restand her because you had run out of CV. So it looks like we did actually get a defensive trigger, because these last couple attacks are going to be blocked with just a 15k there, which now that I'm thinking about it, like, that extra 15 isn't actually enough to block those. If you're at 23, that guards for 38. Under Persona Ride, those Aphelias are swinging in for 38, so we would have needed an extra 5k shield more there. But look, just looking at the size of Blag's hand, we don't really, that doesn't really make a difference because we would have had it anyway. Once again, not having that Persona Ride. Instead, we're going to be using the Crimson Expeller here. Counterblasting 1 and giving an extra 10k to Blag, because I guess why not? It's already massive. Just make it bigger. We might as well. Swinging this 23. Not that difficult of an attack to guard here. Blag'n'demire actually running very, very low on cards there. It's starting to look like this might also be final turn for Blag'n'demire. Theoretically, you know, Wilista does have 1 damage leeway, but with the fact that both, you know, Vanguard and the Zamoog are going to be swinging for lethal damage, being at 4, is going to make it very difficult to actually, you know, hit that defensive, considering probably Zamoog, then Blag, then Zamoog again, and then finally the Servant Fabricate, means that you have to block a total of 3 attacks before you can even have the chance of getting a defensive. The fact that we're probably proccing Divine Skill here just means, you know, auto death anyway. We guarded with OT last turn, and like I said, once you see them lose OT, that is kind of just green light to go for Blag'n'demire Divine Skill, because OT is probably just like your easiest way to guard that. Okay, so it looks like we are going to be PGing this Zamoog here. Makes sense. It's probably the only thing that you're going to be able to PG here as we swing, adding the extra 15 or 45, excuse me. It might have been more than that. 4, 8, 12, 16, 18. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 9 times 5 is plus 45. 45 plus the 28 plus the extra 10k from Expeller is going to make it an absolutely massive column there. And, you know, just to throw some extra salt in the wound, hey, let's add an extra critical there with the Overture there, so this is a 3 damage swing. So, unfortunately, no 6 damage heal is going to save us from that, but that is going to be the match. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.